Okay, so this is a quick Revit take on curtain walls. And in particular, we're going to look at, if I have curtain wall that's going to happen something like this in this, fairly deplorable sketch, but kind of fun. Um, so we have circumstances where a lot of times I have an opening in a wall and it doesn't make sense to use a standard Revit window. And so I would infill something like this with a curtain wall. But first, we need to do a little bit of understanding about how curtain walls work and which curtain wall system to use. So let's look at a 3D view. And again, there's my target opening. If I go to wall, and there are two curtain wall types that I use. 99% of the time, I am using curtain wall 1. If I'm in a pinch and need something fast and stupid, I will do storefront, but this gives me glass and mullions all in one pass. So it's convenient, but essentially I've designed nothing, and so it makes me unhappy. I want to design those things, but if I have to throw something in fast, as in I need it in the next 30 seconds fast, maybe I choose the storefront curtain wall. However, what I typically use wall is curtain wall 1. Same kind of thing, except this just is going to give me blank sheets of glass that I can start to define, which again, I'm designing this now, and so that is where I want to be in terms of process and thinking. So how I use this then is I use the curtain grid tool and I can start to subdivide. So let's just make a 6-foot wide opening. So we're going to plan on a door here at this center panel, 8 foot at the edge. Let's do 1'6" for my side lights either side. So I have something like that starting to come together. I might want to put something here at the base, maybe something at the top like that. Um, and now I can start selecting my curtain grids. Again, this is a door, and so I need this as one large panel. So I can go add, remove segments, and I might want to remove that set of segments to get something like that, just so I can start to work through this. Okay, so let's do mullions, all grid lines, and now I have that coming together as my basic mullion pattern. Now I know it's a door, so I don't want to step over a mullion at a door. So I'm going to deselect that bottom mullion. And now how Revit works with doors and curtain wall panels. If I go to door, I can't put a standard Revit door into this, okay? It's not going to work because it's part of the curtain wall family system. And by the same thinking, I can't go door and load family because that's putting a door into the standard door family. And the curtain wall doors, even though they're in that folder, they are not standard doors. So what you're going to need to do is do insert, load family, doors, and in this case, I'm going to use the curtain wall double glass and open. Next, I need to use my tab key to select that panel. And from here, I can change that panel to any particular thing. Like I can change it to a retaining wall if I want to. I don't know why I would, but I could, so that's kind of fun. But in this case, I'm going to select door, curtain wall, double glass. And now those panels are going to act like a door. If I go to my level 1 plan, you'll see the curtain wall someplace. It's in there, I know it. Maybe it's on level 2. Did I draw on? Yeah, I drew it on level 2. Well, there you go. So there's my door, and I can flip that to either side. So that's working perfectly for me. And so it's that curtain wall system that I want to place right through here. So architecture, wall, curtain wall 1, I'm going to draw it on the center line, and I'm going to push the glass closer to the outside. So I'm using the space bar to flip which side that's on. So I have something like that. That warning was saying that my wall is overlapping other walls, which it is, which is super easy to fix though. I'm just going to select the curtain wall. Let's look at this from that front view on my view cube, and we'll just snap the top and the bottom together here. It's not snapping there for some reason. Mean thing. Well, let's just go for a different view here. Let's see if I can get that to snap. I'm not sure why that's not snapping in my 3D view. And it's not snapping in this view either. Huh. were snapping earlier today. Well, let's just go for um, an edit profile. Always more than one way to do a job in Revit. Remove constraints. And I want it to fit right there. Deal with that, Revit. All right. So that, yep, that is looking perfect now. I have no idea why that didn't want to snap. Somebody put that in the comments for me. It'll be fun. Okay, so if I look at my sketch, I have sort of this small panel where I have operable and then larger panels. I know this is going to be weird because everything in terms of my dimensions has changed as I've worked through this to stay within the square footage design constraints, but I want to keep that idea of small, big, big. So I think what I'll probably do is go to my curtain grid. Let's do like an 18-inch operable. Let's do 2 feet. I want to be able to use that maybe as some kind of skinny egress. I'm not sure if that's going to meet code, but we're going to stick with it for right now. So that was a 2.0. So let's do something like that as a pattern. So now I can do mullions, all grids. Let's go all grids and get something like that working into that wall. And so now I have a really nice mullion pattern, very different from doing a punched opening window like the default Revit windows, but super happy with that. But now the next thing comes when I want to print this as a three-dimensional model, right? This level 2, it's ready to go and stack on top of my level 1. But this isn't going to print very well for me. However, I can isolate just the mullions and send them as their own piece, print them flat, and then pop them into that model, which is a really simple trick to do. So to do something like that, I'm simply going to select that curtain wall. I'm going to go to my sunglasses and say isolate element. From here, I can select everybody, filter, and say I want to only select my curtain panels. And I can right click on my curtain panels, hide and view elements, and I'm left with mullions. So from here I can go File, Export, CAD, STL, Save, and let's call those dudes moles. Okie dokie. Turn off or leave on. I want to leave my temporary hide and isolate on so that I'm only exporting my moles. Let's go back into Prusa Slicer, File, Import, Import, Moles, Open. And this is saying, okay, this is really small. Are you sure I want to keep it? In this case, do you want to recalculate the dimensions? No, thank you. I want to keep it as it is. I want to do those on my own because I want them precise. That's why I have the Revit scale calculator. Now, if this was a 16th inch model, I would be 158.69. So on my scale calculator, 158.69, I would have this. I can select that and then use the lay flat command to essentially grow those up from there. That is teeny tiny. It would probably work okay, but we're really pushing the scope of the Prusa printer, and this is a really, really fragile piece. So typically when I'm doing a 16th inch model, I go back into Revit and I will select one of my mullions and I will beef up these mullions. 0.3, 0.3. So that is now a 6-inch wide by 5-inch deep mullion, and they look ridiculous, super chunksy, right? But they're going to print well, and it'll look fine as a 3D model. However, this is an 1/8-inch model that I'm doing. So if I go back to my scale calculator and do 1 inch equals 8 feet, I'm 317.37. 317.37, enter, much bigger, super solid, slice them. It's a 2-minute print, so super, super fast in terms of getting that out. And that will be ready to pop right into reset that opening right there simply by printing it in 2 passes. I don't want to print these mullions inside of that model. That vertical column is just not going to print very clean at all, if it's going to print at all. Because that's just something FDM extrusion printers just don't do tall, skinny prints very, very well. Certainly not very cleanly. So you just isolate it, lay it flat, print it. Works great.